Okay, so I think most of our participants are here and our two panelists are here, so we can start now. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to join us in this important discussion. This panel is organized by ELSA Albania as part of the Week of Integrity, an initiative of the International Chamber of Commerce in Albania. The Week of Integrity is an awareness-raising campaign on the importance of integrity, which brings together institutions, businesses, civil society, and media. The Week of Integrity stands as a national campaign where collective action is anticipated as a leverage to draw attention on the importance of integrity and to promote ethical behavior in the workplace. This initiative aims to stimulate the debate about what integrity means in practice for organizations and individuals. What can we expect from employees, officials, and directors? What is the responsibility of politicians? And what do companies have to do in this aspect? ELSA Albania, as a law student association, joined this initiative to contribute to this panel discussion on inciting a public debate regarding innovative approaches in the effort to eradicate corruption and promote integrity. As for the overall topic of this panel discussion, it is circulated around e-governance. E-governance is today a tangible reality in Albania, which is managed and coordinated by the National Agency of Information Society. From November 2017, the agency operates on the basis of a decision of Council of Ministers, on the basis of which it provides policies, strategies, and regulates the ICT sector, excluding the field of electronic communications. Since the beginning, this agency had a strategy linking systems to one another and exchanging real-time data as a necessary step for facilitating the services and reducing the number of documents required by the citizens or businesses in the counters. 3 years in practical functioning, these developments have showed interesting correlations between technology and law. This panel will discuss whether digitalization is proving itself to be an efficient tool on the fight against corruption regarding the prevention approach. And our two experts shall give their perspective on the pros and cons of digitalizing government services, challenges, and already shown results of doing so. The overall objective of this panel is to inform and raise awareness on the efforts carried out so far in the fight against corruption through the use of technology as a tool by the multiple stakeholders that share this mission, as well as explore the roles, opportunities, and the challenges that national institutions have to promote integrity and fight corruption in the context of the prevention approach. Uh, Without further ado, I want to present our two panelists for today. We have Ms. Anissa Tepelia. Anissa is currently advisor to the Minister of Justice as a lead Albania fellow. Ms. Tepelia holds a master's degree in law at the University of Tirana and a trilingual master's degree on advanced European and international studies from the CIFE in Nice, Berlin, and Rome. She has an extensive experience starting as a trainee at the German Parliament, Bundestag, followed by her work on EU-related projects with the EU delegation in Albania and IOM, the United Nations Migration Agency. Mr. Pelia is author of several papers related to European integration and rule of law issues as part of her prior engagement in the civil society. Anissa, we are really grateful to have you with us today, joined to discuss this important topic.
Hello, Glenn. Hello, dear Glenn. Thank you very much for inviting me to this panel. I am overly excited to be here for the first time talking in front of the organization that I was once part of. So I suppose, and I think that I'm not wrong, that this is the most engaged part of the law school students, the ones who are the most curious ones, the ones who want to further progress for the society and think of innovative ways to do so, and those who are interested in technology and digitalization. So thank you. I myself was a law student once, but dealing with anti-corruption for more than 3 years now. It has made me shift the approach more and more towards good governance and also digitalization, but also public policy and policy making during these times. And I think that this is all interrelated. I will be talking mostly about this, even though digital government is mostly part of the public administration reform, but it is very much intertwined also with the fight against corruption and also the strategic documents related to that. So allow me to quote a book which I really like to read. It's
Really sorry to interrupt you before we get. I'm really sorry to interrupt you before we get into the specifics.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay.
Oh no! Thank you for being here. And we want to present our other panelist, Ms. Nabila Epishti. Ms. Epishti currently serves as director at the Department of Government Portal Albania and represents today the National Agency for Information Society. Ms. Epishti has worked on digitalizing government services with the agency since its beginnings in 2017 and can best show us on the practical approach regarding this topic. Mr. Pishti, we're really grateful to have you today with us to discuss this topic.
Thank you, Glenn, for the invitation of the National Agency of Information Society as the lead institution of this government reform that has been taken through the last 7 years in Albania. I would like to make a short presentation regarding the reform that we have been supporting during this year and how this is managed even to reduce the bureaucracy. So I don't know if I can start now or...
I think it would be most like understandable and easy to get for members if we can start with the concept of fighting corruption on the prevention approach, and then we can get to the much appreciated and needed practical hands-on approach.
Practical side of this, how was the public administration improving?
So to kick off this discussion, I want to focus on what I said. Mostly law students, when talking about the fight against corruption, we are deemed to have in mind the criminal part of it, the criminal investigation, the punishment of it, and somehow forget the other really important parts on the fight against corruption. And what is really interesting about the new national strategy for the fight against corruption is the three-fold approach towards it. So among the three pillars, along with punishment, of course, and awareness raising, we have the pillar of prevention of corruption on the policy-making level. So I would like the contribution of Mr. Pelia here from ANISA to explain a little bit more to our participants, how can we understand the fight against corruption on this broader spectrum, other than working to ensure the punishment of it on the prevention approach?
When it comes to a governmental approach to corruption, we'd like to start with some kind of formula that helps people like perceive maybe better corruption. There is a curious formula from Klitgard in 91 who said C is equal to M plus D minus A. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretion minus accountability. So let's take those concepts one by one. You know that corruption happens in that place where the public and the private meet. So the most accepted notion of corruption is the use of public functions for private interests. But that it has some prior requirements. It requires a monopoly of power, which was previously conceived as the state power, plus the discretion in the sense of a secrecy or a lack of transparency, which brings minus accountability. So not a responsive way of government towards the people. This has made systems bureaucratic for a long time, paper-based ones, the ones whose paper is the center of the gravity. So now societies and governments are shifting their paradigms into more open government, accessible government, more an easier government, and a digital government. So technology is becoming one of the biggest allies in the fight against corruption, against petty corruption, against tenders, properties, licenses, and all kinds of corruption, starting from the basis, the simplest ones, up high to the political corruption. So what the government is doing in terms of public policy regarding this? It is well said what you said. There is a three-pillar approach towards fighting corruption from the side of the government, and the Ministry of Justice is the national coordinator against corruption. The ones that brings together all the policies and against corruption and makes them more interrelated to one another. The three-pillar approach is the preventive approach, the repressive approach, and the awareness-raising approach. If you can take a look to the action plan in implementation of the strategy against corruption, you would see that most of the measures that are mentioned there actually are in the preventive pillar, in the preventive approach. It is impossible to fight corruption only with a repressive approach. It is a non-efficient, non-proportional, and not feasible, actually, in terms also of budgetary terms. So if you would take a look on those measures that I was mentioning, and I will take a look at them now, specific objectives are related to preventing corruption, and most of them are related to technology and digital access of the citizens to the information or to services. For example, there are many institutions that are under this pillar. For example, one of the specific objectives is raising transparency in state activities and improving the access of the citizens to the information. The only way to raise transparency and to beat those requirements that we were talking about in that formula is to disclose information and to make the government more accountable to the citizens. This is made most possible through the transparency programs of all the institutions who have a duty to do that, central ones and local ones, so that citizens can access the information that they are supposed to give to the citizens. But also there are other ways, feasible ways and very easy ways in which citizens can access institutions, their operability, what they are doing in order to raise them accountable on their actions. And this is being made through technology. Another specific option is the raise of the digital infrastructure of the institutions. I will not be touching a lot upon that because I believe that my colleague will be doing that. But all the public services, all the documents with the electronic signature that the institutions are now providing for the citizens are under this specific measure in a strategic document, which is coordinated by the National Coordinator Against Corruption. All the system of bidding processes and tendering are being done online, and all the mechanisms for improving and monitoring these systems are in the process of digitalization. There are specific objectives of treating the denunciations against corruption. And you know that you have a very special platform that makes this thing possible, coming the government close to the citizens, through a platform where people can raise their concerns, including corruption. And another system is becoming now operational by the Ministry of Justice, which would improve specifically the mechanisms of fighting corruption through an electronic system that would be in use of the coordinators against corruption that will be in 47 agencies throughout institutions that are providing services. And this is also a mechanism that requires an electronic system, which will be in use in a while. The terms of references are being now made for that system. Also, let's mention the declaration of assets and the conflict of interest in another institution, because so far I have mentioned the Commissioner for Freedom of Information, the National Coordinator Against Corruption. Now let's say Hidachi, the High Inspectorate for Declaration of Assets and Conflict of Interest. This institution is also in the process of finalizing an electronic system which is more appropriate to the importance that this institution has as an anti-corruption agency, which would be a whole electronic process throughout the declaration of assets and conflict of interest, which so far was half-half. So these are some of the measures that I am mentioning, amongst others, which are shifting our way of doing things into simplifying things, into making them more transparent, easier, and less prone to corruption. And as you can see, it takes the most part of this. I will not be talking about the repressive part. I think that we hear enough regarding the justice reform or the SPAC or all the instruments, the legal instruments that we are using in the repressive part against corruption. But I think that these other approaches have a deep societal impact into the society. And let's not forget the awareness raising approach. The awareness raising approach, you know, now you are part of the Week of Integrity, and you know that there are more than 40 actors which are included in this Week of Integrity with all kinds of activities. And the pandemic situation has made it necessary for it to be entirely online. And so we were quite, not skeptic, but fearful if we would be able to make, let's say, a film festival against corruption entirely online or through broadcasting or through a platform. But so far, so good. So what this has shown to us is that we can rely on technology to continue doing what we have been doing. Now it has been confirmed that also the forum of the national coordinator with the civil society will be also made online. So whatever consultative processes that we were intending to be doing, we have been doing throughout the pandemic. So we are in the brink of a technological revolution, and we cannot go back anymore than that. But there are also certain challenges in doing that. You know them very well, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of access to technology, and this might also bring marginalization or discrimination of the people who do not live in urban areas or do not have the proper welfare state to afford this digitalization part. But I'm very confident that these mechanisms will be made more and more accessible and easier to use, and closer to the citizens, and as they are supposed to. One last thing that I want to touch upon is this regulatory reform, my colleague can take over and contradict me. But I believe that some challenges here have also have to do with this fitting for digitalization of the documentation, because many regulatory reforms tend to simplify before fitting the document to the system. But maybe my colleague can elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Anissa, for your valuable input in explaining really clearly to our member how important is the prevention approach when we talk about the fight against corruption, and showing real practical examples on how we can make relations between the prevention of corruption through policymaking and the use of technology. Turning to our representative from the National Agency for Information Society, Director Epishti, I would ask you to tell us a little bit more about how does the everyday work of the agency affects in regard of lowering corruption risk in bureaucracy, and especially the department that you had, the well-known portal that we use every day, Albania.
Yes, as a national agency that was supporting the institution that were offering services for the Albanian citizens and businesses, years ago it was a dilemma. If the Albanian citizens or businesses were receiving or not the public services that they deserved, in fact. The administration seems not to be in response to the dynamic aspirations to be served, to serve in time with quality, in time with quality, and without regarding corruption as a secret tax. Our agency responded to this dilemma with a radical solution. We invested in technology, in digitalization, networking, and efficient services through one single portal. And little by little, we like to call it that the creation that forever changed the relationship, especially between the state institutions and the citizen, with the Albania platform. Because Albania nowadays, we can truly say that has embarked on a path of no return towards on provision of the online public services and the complete digitalization of the administration work processes. Our persistence was on changing the mindset of citizens to trust technology and to work through the deregulation process, elimination totally of the face-to-face contact between the citizen and the administration officials, proper investment in ICT after even with the 7 years of hard work, we can say that are being through today and is more visible even for the Albanian citizens and businesses. The unique platform Albania that you have mentioned even before, that is managed by the national agency, today provide more than 7,086 public services of different institutions by just one click. There are 1.6 Albanian citizens that are being served through this portal and 85,000 of businesses. And our work plan is that by the end of the year, we will be offering through this unique portal 95% of the public services, or in numbers, there will be more than 1,200 public services with no cost, without waiting in queues of the state counters, and even without having physical contact with administration employee. Eliminating the physical contact with the administration employee is the first phase of reducing bureaucracy and even minimizing the corruption that is even before some years as a secret tax that was for the Albanian citizen and businesses. This reform has started from the 1st January of this year, and it was divided in 3 phases. The first phase was to have 472 applications for public services only online through this portal. The second phase was that was well implemented was in the end of the June of this year, and they were more than 300 services that are provided only through this platform. Till the end of the year, as I mentioned, we are going to deliver 95% of the total public services through this platform. But this process was not just digitalizing or going online with the application form. It has been a huge process with all the stakeholders by the regulation, facilitating the process, reducing the list of the documents associated that were needed for an application. And the new novelty of this reform of this year was not even that some of the services, for example, as Mr. Belia even mentioned, are provided in real time with digital seal, but is that even for the other application that the process is not fully digitalized. The documents that have been generated from other public institutions, there are no more asked to be provided by to this application by the Albanian citizens or the businesses, but are the public employee duty to obtain them through the different technical solutions that NICE have been provided to them. So the public administration, since it was a difficult phase to go online, it was time piloting, and the public employee, more than 2,700, are being trained to assist the citizen for the first time that came to the counters to apply online through Albania and to provide enclosed document generated through the electronic signature distribution system in order to reduce much the bureaucracy associated and to eliminate in the future even the first phase of the physical contact. So in order to make the government as transparent as possible, after completing the online application, the citizen is equipped with a unique number that enables him to track the status of the application. He has also the option to upload additional documents through his unique application number if they are needed or requested later by the institutions. So during this year, we have been minimizing about 90% the physical contact of obtaining on public services in the Albanian institutions. It is much work to do because it was very hard, but I'm going to mention even later what were some of the obstacles that we have faced through this process that we have been undergoing as not only as an institution, but even with all the other stakeholders that was engaged in this process. A few months ago, the country was into a lockdown due to the pandemic, and you can imagine the great responsibility, but also the sensation we felt due to the fact that the Albania turned into the only open door, that every Albanian citizen could claim everything, even from organized exit permits, but even to social or health services. As you mentioned, e-government today is a tangibility in Albania, is a reality tangible in Albania, and the technology instrument and the investment made in technology and the ICT are really bearing fruit today because they were even different benchmark of the last years that have been ranking Albania in highest position before the last is made 2 years ago. I can mention the e-government benchmark, and it ranked Albania from 37 countries. It was ranked the 22nd, and it was before some all of the other countries in the Western Balkan, but even we have been ranked before some other countries that are part of the European Union nowadays. So I don't, maybe I can share even some statistics about the usage that every day we count more than 2,000 200,000 application made from the Albanian citizens and businesses. We count more than 2 million usage as a leverage per month, or we can say that only the last year they have been tripled the usage and the application considered made from this portal. But the pandemic, it was very difficult to change the mindset of the public institution and after even to the Albanian citizens to trust in technology, to trust that technology can facilitate our life and can be the solve of the problem that we had against the public institution about bureaucracies and corruptions. But maybe the pandemic time, it was the positive side of all the situation that we have faced was that it was unbelievable that the people will trust so much in technology, and that nowadays they need more and more other public services to be provided in this way, to be provided 24/7 every day of the week, not to have to wait in queues. But it is very hard because re-engineering the processes and automation is a no-end phase, even for the public Albanian institutions. But it was very much supported until now, and we hope to close everything successfully by the end of this year and to have really a new opportunity of offering the 95% of the public services of the Albanian government through this unique platform.
Thank you, Ms. Perishti, for your valuable for your valuable input and into showing us how the everyday work of the National Agency for Information of society really has an impact in preventing corruption, and really telling us the practical approach of how the strategy of in the policy making that has been written from the Minister of Justice and the National Coordinator Against Corruption can be reflected in your everyday work. And also, since it is a relatively novel platform, it has only 3 years that has this kind of size in the services provided. It is really interesting hearing about.
Interrupt you. They have been 7 years that the Albania is created, but especially we'd like to mention the 2017 because of the legal framework that was approved in this year, and all the processes take a legal side and they were well focused. So we have worked very hard the first 4 years, but nothing was visible till 2017 with a legal approach.
Yeah,
The right legal approach.
as law students, we best understand that legal precautions are really good, but they should also be assured with other sub like the decision of Council of Ministers, and not only by law, in order to really function daily. So yeah, it is really visible how the using technology as a tool has a real impact in preventing corruption, especially in bureaucracy. And it is really interesting hearing about the challenges when implementing this system, such as Albania for the first time, and getting to work with also raising awareness in the citizens to accept technology and to see how it is better for everyone, including them. I have a last question, which is regarding to both panelists. I would really like your input on this. We have talked so far in this 40 minutes about the efforts carried out so far regarding using technology as a tool in the prevention of corruption. I would really love to hear from both of you, how can Albanian stakeholders further push for the use of technology in the corruption prevention strategies and implementation? Whoever feels comfortable to take the floor first.
But
Thank
I
you.
would like, I have some, I really love technology, but I really like technology that's also driven by people with integrity. So technology can be used in several ways. And first, my first advice to you would be to not just trust blindly to technology. And here I'm not talking about services provided by the government or something like that. I'm talking about algorithms and the way that technology works. Because algorithms rely on data which are already gathered by the human experience, and they are not necessarily fair or ethical or non-discriminatory, etc. So technology can also have biases. So I myself, I'm trying to improve myself into understanding technology, having a legal background. And this is what I heard in an OECD conference in Paris, which was whose title was Tech for Trust. Finding a common language between those who make the regulations or who regulate and those who make the systems would be perfect, because from what is seen in the highest levels as well, they don't understand each other's languages. So most of the people know what goes in an application, and then something happens in the black box, and then you don't know what goes out from there. So it is really curious to try and understand the logics and have always apply a critical thinking on technology. Because now we have also the artificial intelligence, the self-evolving technology. But for example, let's say that the technology is trying to substitute human resources in a company, and then you will see that like 80% of the chosen people are men, and based on certain criteria on human experience, which do not necessarily meet the threshold that we want to meet as a society. But on the other hand, there are a million zillion things that you can do with technology, and especially young people, especially to have their voices heard in order to apply better democracy. Many local decision-making agencies in Europe try to reach their citizens through technology, to make them vote on several issues, to have their voices heard more often and easier, etc. So any app that you could come up with in these areas would be great, and I think very welcome. And there are also many donors around who would love to see you do that. But also platforms for civil society in order to improve the consultation processes, etc. They would be also most welcome. So this is just a few ideas to throw in for brainstorming.
Yeah, that's quite a valuable input that we should look forward into developing more technology in this fight, but also be careful of the black box nature of AI, and not do reverse step through advancing in technology and unconsciously maybe creating novel forms of discriminations or other problems similar to this. Director Pishti, any input or ideas regarding how can we further push for technology in as a tool in fighting corruption and ensuring integrity in the workplace?
Um, about our side as a national agency, about what Mr. Belia mentioned before, I wanted to say that that's why regarding those problems about the trust in technology, we have been investing very much in cybersecurity and making even a national strategy that is also directed by another national agency that is coordinating these the political and strategies about the cybersecurity, and we have made all the measures providing the best efforts on this aspect through offering the electronic services. But I want to say that sometimes with not sometimes, but in general, especially before pandemic time, um, we have forced the mindset. If we were offering, for example, for a time piloting, the both channels of offering the public services, even physically and even electronically, the mindset was going so much in the old version, taking them physically in this portal. And it was very, very difficult to change this due to 3 or 4 months that we have taken as a piloting time. So what we have elaborated as a strategy, if we can say, was forcing them going electronically as the only way for some time. And it was the only way after to show that this was the best way, especially offering less bureaucracies and hiding that the Albanian citizens and businesses were mentioning as the corruption secret tax. So sometimes you need to go very hard, and after this forced decision, you can face the benefit of some changes that are mindset changes at the end of the day, and not so much. Reducing different kind of life of or everyday life at everyone by the end of the day.
Thank you. That's also a great point. As someone who has been on the hands-on approach on implementing technology, it is important to know that sometimes you have to push aggressively in the positive context in order to
And it all
make.
started with the Albanian institutions. It was the forced part, even inside the public administration, to reconcept and redesign how what offer service means. And the citizen well, the last but well approached.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sometimes you have to push aggressively to make people give technology a chance. So that concluded my questions for this panel discussion, and we have a couple of minutes left, which I'd like to dedicate to the to our audience for questions or inputs or comments regarding our discussion so far. And I already see we have a comment in the chat from Elbiana. Elbiana says, and I'm reading her question now. I'd like to congratulate the speakers for the useful information they provided during this presentation. And I have a question. After the last question and the discussion it brought, do you think Albania is ready to advance in technology fighting corruption, considering the difficulties there would be for us on dealing with proper data protection?
Can I take this one?
Yes, gladly.
And in the moment that my colleague mentioned cybersecurity, I wrote this. I don't know if it is readable, but it says GDPR. So I really wanted to mention this after what she was elaborating, because I am very enthusiastic about the fact that there is in the plan of the laws to be like in this case it's a regulation and it doesn't need to be transposed, but the adoption of the GDPR in Albania. And this is only needed in every society right now, and it comes with a twofold responsibility from the government and from the citizens. The GDPR entails the highest protection to, it's the general, the General Data Protection Regulation. So this is the acronym. And it has emerged in Europe as the highest standard of data protection after the scandals with data breaches everywhere. And if implemented correctly, I think it will be a good safeguard. But as any other legal instrument, that it requires the government, the inspectors, and mechanisms of inspection towards the companies and those who gather data and process data and generate data and quantify data into money. This is the government responsibility. Every legal instrument requires also a citizen's responsibility in order to use the tools that the law provides in order to protect your data. And the moment that we would see data as our property and as our right, our approach will shift, and we will want to protect it. We will want to know the companies who we gave the data to ask what they are doing with them. The GDPR also has a very important tool. It's called the right to be forgotten. So once we recognize that we own our data, it's ours to use, to know what they're doing with, we will want ownership over that also throughout time. Because as much as we want a physical property, we will want also our data too, because for the first time, data has become so valuable in the market. And it's also a matter of fairness towards what belongs to us and what is more intimate to us, but also in alignment to our right for privacy and to our right to operate freely without having the feeling of being watched. Only if we gave permission to, which would be different. So it is not easy. Everywhere in the world, it is difficult to operate with this, but it requires knowledge and awareness on what is happening in order to proceed. It's not impossible, I would say, control.
Yeah, thank you for your comment regarding the question. I do agree. It may be hard, but it is not impossible. The attention towards GDPR lately in Albania is a positive sign regarding that. The Commissioner for Data Protection already has a strategy to align the legislation with GDPR, and as you said, the different institutions have an approach to already try to apply GDPR standards when they can, even though it's not a hard enforceable law yet. And that's a positive aspect, which makes us hopeful regarding data protection as law students. I don't know if Director Pishti has a comment regarding the Albanian data protections policy.
I don't have much to add, in fact, because
Yeah.
I want just to mention what you have mentioned, but you have just mentioned it before about the Data Protection Commissioner in Albania that take care of the legal framework that they are adopting. And they have also their instruments, especially for the public administration, to monitor the data that are managed through the electronic systems. We go through this process 12 per year, and we have to deploy the monitoring reports, and I'm taking the GDPR. I wanted to mention that is more about the third parties that they are working with data. About the public institutions, it's all monitored from the commissioner.
Yeah, yeah. It is also a nice aspect that an independent institution ongoingly monitors the biggest portal, online portal that has all that data. So That's also a nice aspect
But more for the
regarding.
data, I wanted to mention something now that I'm facing. The Albania, I have not been so much in technical details, but the portal is only a transmission door. So all the data are provided by the electronic registers of the different institutions that are providing the services. Through the portal, you only can, because we have implemented the interoperability platform, which is the core but is not so visible. And so we mentioned only the Albania portal, which is the visible side. And through this interoperability platform, we manage the interconnection until now of 53 different electronic registers. And all the data are provided and are being submitted to different electronic registers of institution depending on the kind of the services. The Albania portal is only a managed site of transporting and transmitting in real time this kind of data. So we are part of the monitoring reports, but are also every institution that is organizing data through an electronic register.
Yes, it's important to recognize the each institution's responsibility regarding data protection. And I'm hopeful that with having a institution such as the commissioner, which is independent and monitors, I'm hopeful that each institution is really careful about being in line with the national legislation, forcible legislation towards data protection when they collect and use data. So I'm going to open the floor once again if we have any comment or question, last comment or question from our participants. And you can also feel free to open the camera or mic to say it yourself, or you can write it, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. If we do not have any, and if everything was clear, I would like to thank our two panelists for giving us their valuable input coming from their experience in using technology, about correlations between technology and law, and specifically using technology in the fight against corruption. And I am hopeful that this webinar will leave our members more interested in the subject and more invested in it for future projects, or maybe the future studies, and maybe even specialize on it. Thank you to everyone for being part of this panel discussion, and I hope to see you in next initiatives from ELSA Albania and also the International Chamber of Commerce as Week of Integrity.
Thank you even from ELSA for inviting us to be part of such a discussion in a Friday afternoon.
Thank you.
Yes, it was a very nice closure of the week, actually. It's what I would want to finish it with. So thank you very much, Glenn.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, and see you in other events. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a nice time.